So we didn't do that in your class back in 103. It was kind of an AAR that you guys had. Like looking back at, day 7, I have no idea what day 7 was about, and I don't want to go through all the videos. So I'm titling it by topic. Okay, so I was going to have you text a response. So we're going to begin by formalizing this definition of probability. And to do that, you need to first start off with, I know people love this from Foundation, set theory. So some of the definitions aren't in here, but a set is a collection of objects. By the way, when I use these, it makes it really cool because you can go through a volume of stuff quickly. We don't want to do that in here, so I'm going to let you catch up by writing. So you can ask me to slow down and just say, I need to catch up writing. In fact, students' AAR on this is that they can pause me. I love this class, you can already tell, right? I can just go to town. Love it. Seems easy. Type is a collection. And why you need definitions like this, even though they seem simple, is later on you're looking at something like an event and asking, what is an event? It's a set. What is a set? It's a collection of objects. An event is a set that's a collection of sample points. All right, so an example is the possible outcomes from flipping a coin. A would be tails and heads. That's a set. This is not in the book, but I don't know if your first homework for Handon has been put in the on SharePoint yet. I'll put it in our Dropbox as well, and I'll add everybody today. But you need definitions like this for a couple of the problems that are on there. So what does it mean for a set to belong to another set, one contained in the other? The formal definition is if X is a member of the first set, then X is also a member of the second set. That's the formal definition of what it means to be a subset. And you should have got that in Foundations. Is Foundations a required class for this? Ooh. Ouch. How many of you had Foundations? Raise your hand high. So if you don't understand like one of these things where I'm saying it should be in Foundations, find one of these guys. You forgot it all, Aiden? Oh. So if I let B be tails and heads from above, and I let A be tails, then every member of the set A is also a member of the set B. Perfect example of this formalization is when you talk about absolute value, for example. If you talk to a little kid about absolute value, they say it makes things positive. Stick something in there, makes things positive. Like, yeah, but I can't work with that in a proof. If I have an absolute value of X, I need to work with that in a proof. How many of you took real analysis? I think Foundations is probably a prereq. Then you need to know what those things mean so that you can maneuver it inside one of those problems. A intersect B are the elements where X belongs to A and X belongs to B. So it's a set. The type, it's a set. It's a new set formed by taking two sets and looking at what overlaps in both. So it's possible for these intersections to be empty. We call those disjoint if they don't have any overlap. So if somebody says to me, Dr. T, I'm working with A intersect B, immediately I automatically go to this definition. Oh, X is in A and X is in B. So that's set. And how many of you, now that I realize that the majority have had Foundations, do you know what this means when we write this? It means this is like, it's a club, so this is the club. These are the members of the club, and this is the criteria. So you got through the door, but there was a bouncer. And the bouncer says, to get in this, both of you have to be in. You have to be in A and you have to be in B. I'll give you an example. I think you guys have a program. I don't know if it's available to everybody, but if you're a core squad athlete and you're allowed to gain weight, there's a program on post that'll help you lose the weight. But I think you need to be a core squad athlete. And you definitely can't be somebody from Montclair State, New Jersey. You have to be from West Point. So the intersection, the people that are allowed to use that weight loss program here have to be a Core Squad athlete and have to be a West Point cadet. So that's the intersection. Good? So I'm going to give you more examples. So I like my Core Squad athlete example, but I'm using flipping a coin twice. You could get tails, 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 heads, heads, tails, heads, heads. A equals tails, tails, B equals this other set. What would the intersection be? It'd be tails, head, the overlap between the two. So these kind of problems are easy when they ask you to find the intersection of two given sets. But if they abstract and say, I've got two sets and I'm working with the intersection, which I believe you have a problem like that on the first homework. They didn't tell you what's in the sets. You have to prove something in general about it. That's when it gets like, oh, I have to go back to the definitions. A union B is a set, and it's defined by the set of X, such that X is in A or X is in B. So when I used to teach these kind of classes, I'd ask students to regurgitate, because you teach by giving tests. That's a standard. You have cookie cutter, you have a test. And on the test, you're like, what do you ask? In a 55-minute class or 75-minute class, what can you ask on a test? Well, I can ask them for definitions. And then they'll say, well, you should give me a partial credit. I put and here, and only one word is wrong. And so I should get partial credit on that. What do you think about that? We don't have any WPRs in here, so we can talk about it. You can't get a definition wrong, right? It's just either right or wrong. It's a 0-1. So if they have an and here, they don't get partial credit for that. And I made sure not to tell them what my car looked like because they would have keyed it, I think. But what I found over time is you can't just ask people to memorize definitions and spit them out on tests. So I went away from that, and Colonel Watts told me that they changed this class so you don't have WPRs in here. I think you have a T, though, right? Do we have a midterm? Ugh. I don't like testing on this kind of material. Okay, so from above, you can think of it intuitively as joining the sets. You're just joining the two sets and putting them together. I will tell you right now, I'm going to advocate, I didn't realize we had a midterm, but I'm going to advocate that we actually find examples that fit this definition. So that's more educational than spit me out that definition.
And on that topic of the midterm, the course guide says that it's the date or the lesson that it gives is the day before spring break, but the calendar itself, it's a day after.
Can you send me a text to remind me to talk to Colonel Watts about that? Otherwise, I'll forget. The complement, your book is using the line. I just realized something. Your book is using the line to talk about complement, but on your first homework, we use a little C. So on the first homework, you have something like this, B, C. From your book, it's the same thing. So you'll also see in books they'll call it this, not B, or you'll also see this. Those are the notations that you'll see. I like this one because it means throw away B. That's what I think of when I see this one. BC means B complement. It just means everything that's not in that set. Bringing back memories? It's a set of X that X is not in A. And if you haven't seen those symbols, the little 3E thing means element of. Slash it, it means not an element of. So number 3 and 4 on the first homework that's due, you'll need the above formal definitions and De Morgan's laws, which are on page 25. These are De Morgan's laws. And it wasn't my fault, Aiden, actually. It was Dr. Williams. She was big on making sure that you knew the set stuff, so you can thank her now, because these guys had to prove it, all these things. You remember that? Again and again and again. I think we spent like a third of that class just doing those. I went to Dr. Williams and said, I hate these problems. And she goes, I know, but we need to do them. It's the right thing to do. So you'll need these. You don't have to copy this down. This is in your book, so if you have page 25, you'll know where to go. So I don't think you need to recopy this. You might want it under your theorems. This is something that you can use, because on the first quiz, or the only reason you want it lined up like that is if you're going to get tested on it. I actually used to put my stuff around my desk so that I could see it right there. So I'd like tape it up. Okay. I'm going to